This is Charlie Flowe, World Sports Show, joined here with Rachel Breton, joining us live from New Jersey. I want to thank you for calling in the World Sports Show. Appreciate your time.
No problem, Charlie. Always a pleasure.
So how are things with you? I know that we're in a different kind of world. I mean, we have all kinds of new skills we're learning how to video conference, learning how to virtually train, learning how to virtually order food. How's this been for you?
Honestly, I know that I'm in a privileged arena right now where, I'm still getting paid for coaching. I'm still doing virtual trainings. As you know, I do social media marketing. So that's already in this world, in this domain. So that's still buzzing. And I'm with my parents. So that's been really good. I'm spending time with my family. And as I said to a couple of my friends and people, and I'll say it to you, is that, there's a needed national pause that I think that we all kind of, again, needed. Because for me, especially, my life has been so go, 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 here, there. I feel like I was an Uber driver, and I just needed like a second. And this is like kind of like God's way of saying, okay, here's your second, take a breather. So for me, I've been keeping busy, being creative, just like being very present, as zen as that sounds, like that's what it's been. And just trying to, like, firstly want to say thanks to the first responders, police officers, nurses, doctors. We wouldn't be there without them, and that's a tough job. And I'm trying to better myself as they help better us, and try to do my part.
Now, I think you hit a lot of it, the nail on the head, that my life is very similar to you, that us that coach for a living, we're constantly bouncing around and in different places. And it's like we still have that great work ethic and that great bounce around, but we have to limit it to a few space feet now. And we're not able to do what we love to do. But I mean, I've seen some of your tweets and some of your social media, and it's been like inspirational, and some stuff about like there's so many things that we can take advantage of staying home, like learning languages, learning different, ways to even just think, ways to approach the game, the ways that we don't really sometimes have the time when we're coaches because we're so go, 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 go. Everything's our face. But this is a really good time for us to learn who we are, and then also learn who our players are, learn who our fellow coaches are, and just work on relationships.
Yeah. Like as I wrote, I just like, I just actually had a conversation with a friend right now, just saying, I don't know how people could say that they're bored. Like that means that you've mastered all these languages and you've read all these books in different languages and songs in different languages. And it means you've done it all, and none of us has. So right now is the excuse, because I myself get, I'm hard on myself where I'm like, hey, you don't deserve to take that time off, or like that's not what a grinder does, whatever that means. And I feel guilty if like, hey, I'm going to sleep in, whatever that means, and watch Netflix or be mindless, like, or like work on myself, because that's not what CEOs do. But like, based off of what, like, we're going off this timeline and structure that we think we should go with, but it's essentially like your own practice of who you are. Like, what do you really need to work on? What is essential to you? Maybe people value money more or less. Go with that. Like, what's your vocation? And do you have the courage to take that? And like, for me, family means more. Authentic relationships, friendships mean more. Responding back to people, reading, like these things like that are going to feed my soul to help me be a leader to others. That's essentially more important than going through the motions, which I think myself included, all of us can go through, especially if you're in the city and if you're in the profession where you have to, it doesn't really give us the time, the luxury to, hey, like I just need to take a second,
Yeah, I mean, it's made me actually motivate myself to work even harder, because knowing that we don't know the future, and you always plan as a coach for, I mean, the worst thing we plan for is maybe an injury of a player, or maybe a thunderstorm, or maybe a tournament's rained out. We really have to, all of us, kind of take a second and pause and realize there are some industries, some jobs that may not exist. When it comes down to, some companies may have a bottom line, and you may not be on that bottom line. Some really players, coaches that have only put like almost all their eggs in one basket. And this is the time where go get some of those online certifications, learn something. Yeah. So when you come out of this, you have another skill, another asset to offer. I mean, case for example, you're a former pro, and a former college player. So what you do is you have a college degree, and it's something that's come up through a lot of conversations that I've had with coaches that it's always going to go right away. But let's be honest, if you go pro and don't make it, it's always good to fall back on that education and just being able to learn and being able to expand your mind and not just be, oh, I'm only a soccer coach. Because let's be honest, our sport doesn't exist right now. All of our
Right.
diplomas, all of our licenses, technically they're meaningless right now because there is no soccer.
Right. No, and that's also a really good, important point, and something that I've always held dear, and it felt weird to express because, like, if you're a pro athlete, you're a pro soccer player, if you're an athlete, you're focusing on your craft, and your craft is essentially your sport, right, and your body. But I've always said from the beginning, like, who am I without this sport? Because that's the 3/4 of my life that I will have. Like, essentially, people retire around, even like in the women's game, like 26 to 32, anomaly if you push it a little bit further. So then what are you going to do? Because everyone's living longer lives, and science has proven that. My grandpa's going to be 90, still healthy, doing autopsies. Like, what are you going to do for the rest of your 60 years? You can't label yourself as I just played soccer or I'm just this thing. So inevitably, like, and it's okay if you didn't major in something that, let's say you just decided to do history, you had no idea that you wanted, like, you don't desire to do that, but that's okay. But now it's your responsibility to, as you said, like, do I like the fitness area? Do I get my cert? Do I get my NASM? Do I get my CSCS? Do I want to coach? Do I not want to be in that field at all? It's okay. And even if I decide to do that and I realize that that's not the right door, it's okay to start again and then pick a new door,
Yeah, I think that big valuable thing is being a jack of all trades, having a skill, having something that, we all society in general, because we all love what we do, but, push to the shove, you have to take care of your family first and foremost. I think that's one thing I really admire about you is well. And it's important, I mean, there's people, they're happy to be family. I'm very happy. I've got a wife and a baby child that are my motivation to put, food on the table, and my motivation to say, if I never coach another soccer game, that's not a big deal to me because I have my priorities. Sports is one where it's just going to look a little different for now. I think the human race has gone through a lot worse of situations, but
yeah,
how do you come out in the end? That this is the time that a lot of us had wished for. If you were told, yeah, you get to just go chill for like a month, but you can choose what you do at that time. So it's all about choosing wisely, like all the Matrix. You choose the red pill or the blue pill. Which one are you going to choose?
Yeah. No, you're right. And like, it's funny because my friend was upset about this, and I was like, I mean, this is what we asked for, though. We're like, we just wish that we could just take a week. And yeah, it's longer than we expected, but it's what do you want to make time for? Like, people say I don't have time for things. It's like, what do you do with your time? Because essentially, like, that's our time can get taken away from us. So every day you have an opportunity to choose to be the better version of yourself, as trite as that is. It's true, and that could be from a 5-minute thing that you do to a drastic change to anything. But you essentially, like, I say this all the time, like, you can't judge others unless you shouldn't judge others, but you can't look at what that person's doing unless you know essentially like what you're doing. And you could always give input on certain things, but like, everyone has different values, and you have to make sure that your vocation matches your values. If they don't, then you might not be in the right field. I'm reading this book called The Purpose Path, actually, by Nicholas Peele, and it's really, really, really good. I do recommend it. But he talks about that. We have to have courage to have pause in these moments and figure out, like, okay, do my morals match this? And like, it doesn't mean that you're going to find the best and most amazing thing, but it means that, like, at least, like, when you get up and you do things, you're just going to feel better about it. And that goes with anything. You could be a potato carver, and
Yeah.
but like, if it fills you, it fills you, and that's okay.
No, it's a lot of those things that you've said are things that, like, we all take in stride, I guess you could say. And how can we make ourselves better? And it's one of those things where that I know a lot of people are getting upset, and I'm included. All of us have got upset. I think we're allowed to get upset. We're allowed to vent.
Right.
There's a lot of problems that we all have, but there's been times in history and individuals I'm reading about that went through far worse situations. I'm comparing a couple different scenarios. You look at people like Nelson Mandela, falsely put into jail and has to be on Robben Island, some of the worst conditions ever. And he comes out and he's president of South Africa at the end.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like things like that, that there are so many people in this world that have been falsely accused, and they just did their time, behaved themselves in jail, had their day, and got out, and realized later it wasn't really a waste of my time. It's because, hey, I made myself better. Something bad's happened, and we're all in this together. So it's all these people that are upset. I understand everybody is allowed to be upset, but we're all in this together. So nobody's going to suddenly say, well, during those 3 months, I saw you didn't have a job, and I saw your credit was horrible. Are you kidding me? This is the time where I joke with people like, dude, like, why do you need to pay your bills? I know a lot of people are upset. Big thing you can do is take care of your family and feed yourself, okay? Like, great, your credit score got a little damaged. Who else's credit score is going to get a little damaged?
Yeah. I mean, mine did. Mine went down 5.
Yeah.
And I got upset for like a second that I was like, who cares though?
Exactly. You're alive, man. Like,
yeah. You know, the biggest thing that needs to happen now is, can we make our struggle our strength? You know, because adversity happens day in and day out. And, you know, everyone's pain is everyone's pain. You know, I know that you shouldn't judge people's pains. People go through certain things, like you say, Nelson Mandela. I do not know if I would be able to do what he did, but in his world, he was able to do what he needed to do. And, you know, essentially, like, everyone has their own purpose, their own story, their own struggles, their own adversities. The biggest things that we learn out of all of these characters, including, like, you know, DC Comics and Marvel, is like, what do you do with what you have, you know? And that's just essentially, like, right now, you know, someone, I read that someone was asking what's worse, Sandy or this pandemic, and people were saying Sandy because they didn't have Wi-Fi. but think about that.
Wow.
You know, like,
I mean,
essentially, like, it's crazy, and that's a comparison that's nuts.
It's how quick we've moved into that. Like, you know, I'm 43 almost. I guess I'm almost 40. I forget how old I am during this whole thing. And you're still technically 20s, but it's, I think the one thing that you tweet about, like, books and stuff like that, like, if the power goes out, the thing could, like, it's like, how many times have we gone through winter storms or we don't have the power for a couple of days? You bust out the flashlight, you read a book, you play some board games. A lot of things we have a problem differentiate between needs and wants. So many people, honestly, they will pick their wants over their basic life needs. And that's what the people, you know, they educate themselves on. Every time something like that, it's an opportunity. Look out on my bookshelf that I have 10 out of it. I mean, I didn't read. I'll be honest with you. I buy a lot of books, but it's so hard to keep track of, you know, everything you've read. Go back and read books a second time. There's so many, I guess, opportunities within that. Self-educate is something I think as a society we just need to put more weight on that. You know, I can go and read up and learn a lot of things in this and not get a college credit, but be more knowledge and be more fruitful.
Well, it's true. I was taking this screenwriting class with 2 former players, Dami Richardson and Kayla Mills, and we were learning how storytellers, we think that they could be great and they could be bad, right? Because people now, and this is what this woman was saying when listening to this TED talk, but people now are going, like, looking at media and thinking that it's just fact. Like, if anyone says anything, it's just fact. Instead of just going out and actually fact checking, or just being not, like, just understanding. Like, I could tell you, hey, I heard that, you know, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, they're gonna let it down, and we're gonna be able to go outside tomorrow. Then, without you even really checking, start telling people, and then that gets.
Oh, I believe Rachel, because she never tells me a lie. You know?
Right, and it's and, like, I agree with you that we just have to be more. Just take a second to be more knowledgeable. If it's enough for you to repeat, then it's enough for you to know the facts.
Yeah.
The one thing that this TED Talk person said was, good intentions can have unintended consequences. And that's what that is, you know, like, that you can have good intentions and you meant to say the story, you meant to do this thing, or, you know, you meant to do the right thing, but it doesn't matter. You can still have unintended consequences. So again, it's like, what do you do with your time? What do you do with yourself? And how can you at least impact one more person? Because that's a domino effect in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, so many things that, believe it or not, I feel like I need another hour in a day because I'm constantly doing these types of, like you're calling into our radio show, but I'm constantly having meetings with other coaches, what we're doing and having success. This is the big time that we're in that share community. If I come up with an idea, you know, I'm trying to share it. Like we're creating all these Google Docs, and a couple of coaching clubs that I'm with just keep sharing ideas of what is effective and what is not effective, because there's a lot of crash and burns, you know, that you're trying to make a session work, and every single kid I coach has got a different setup at home. So I think
Oh yeah.
the big thing that, a lot of clubs need to pull back, because there's a lot of these big clubs that are trying to still go at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I start out every one of my meetings with my players is just a check-in. How are you doing? How are you? And never getting upset with the player being late, not making a call because you don't know what's going on. And I think that reflects back on us just being coaches in the real world, that
Yeah.
I've been with some clubs that will want me to reprimand, and bench players being late. But it's like, until they drive themselves to a field, learn the backstory on somebody.
No, it's true.
It's
And that question is key. Like, I asked my teams, like, how are you adjusting to this, and are you getting bombarded with all this schoolwork? Because it's also important, because, as you said, like, a lot of these clubs are just like, go, here's this, because I
Yeah.
get it from a business standpoint. Those companies are still being paid to give a product,
Yeah.
and it's like, now what do we do? How do we adjust? And props to those in those positions, because it's a tough one to call. But it's kind of having to, right now, it has to be very hands-on, and it has to be very intimate with your uh a team player. Like, you have to figure out what's going on with them. Are they overwhelmed? Is this good for them? Is their family okay? Like, simple things, and actually get to know them and figure out how you can coach them better. At Princeton, we had these girls write a me essay, and they had to handwrite an essay explaining, like, some things that I wouldn't know about you.
I like it. I'm going to borrow that. I like that a lot.
There you go. Things that you like, and then how can I coach you better? And it was interesting because you get majority of the team responded, still working on the whole response, but that'll happen no matter what. But it was interesting to what people focused on. Like, me, like, I'm a psyche, like, I love psych and sports psychology, and like, it was interesting to see what you shared. Did you talk about the sport more? Did you talk about your dogs? Did you talk about dance? Did you talk about TikTok? Like, where are you? And it does help, because how they say that they could be coached better helps you understand how they function, how they work, and what matters to them. Did they say they want to be yelled at? Like, did they say good job? You figure it out. But yeah.
No, it's true, because as a coach, it's hard for us to know. I coach 5 different teams, so I'm not sure how many teams you got. A lot of different personalities, and
Yeah.
everybody's motivated in a different way. Some people, you can always say players are similar, but when it really, really gets down to it, there are some players that really need to be pushed and motivated, some that don't want to hear from their coach, some that really want to be complimented. And this is the time to learn as a whole, the individual player, that
Right.
is keeping a lot of my meetings very light to start. I've been going with the format kind of intro, how you doing? We bring a guest on, we do some soccer trivia. So they're in a good mood. They're having some fun, because you saw the competitive nature that I've done some of the virtual trainings where it's just the one, individual things, but I've got so many players that, like myself, that I'm competitive as heck. I want to win. I don't like just doing drills to do drills. I like to have an objective. I like to say,
Yeah.
I'm trying to beat you, or trying to, so we have little mini competitions, things like that. What are some of the things that you've, besides your little, things that you've been doing with your team, just, to share with the public out there listening to your World Sports Show now, that things that you've been doing that are effective?
We've been. I'm still trying to. As you were talking, I was like, man, things that our club has done that I find effective
Okay.
is that they've, like, one of my coworkers is doing trivia, like you said, like, watch a game, like, what was the color of the penny on the sideline, and they would battle. I forgot what program she used, but she's also a teacher, so she has like this different kind of equipment that I'm like, damn, I could use that. But that's been good. Having them do these like team, the juggling the toilets and the toilet paper and the juggle and kick it to the next frame kind of thing. They've enjoyed that. I'm trying to figure out. Me, I like to be a little authentic and not like a trendsetter. Oh, a trendsetter, not a trend follower.
Yeah,
So
I know what you meant.
yeah, so I kind of want to do something different, nothing that you keep seeing overboard, because I think what's happening right now from a coaching and from a sports and training method is that everyone right now is a guru, either in yoga or in fitness. And every coach is doing kind of the same thing, so it kind of doesn't make you stand out amongst. So I want the girls to do something just a little different. But we've been doing game analysis, so we've been doing the Zoom chats, and I'll give them like something specific, like let's see why AC Milan is really good at this, or let's see why Barca's possession is magic in possession with a purpose, or how does Atletico defend as a unit, and why is this, or what was the breakdown with Real Madrid, stuff like that. And that's been pretty good. The girls have responded, and they'll share, stuff like that. But try not to overload them. But I also asked them prior, if I gave you a game to watch, 1, would you watch it? 2, would you watch the whole game? 3, would you watch just a half? And 4, would you really pay attention? Because I want to teach. I think what's lacking right now is that a lot of the girls don't watch the game, guy or girl. Well, I meant like the girls' side, they're not watching the guys or the girls. And I think it's important to have that player that you like, so you can add that to your game, something to reach for too, someone to look forward, look up to. Like my dad was mine, and then as I got older, I found these other players, and I'm like, wow, I really love this, and I added that to my game. I want the girls to start to do that, and I want the girls to start to. I don't want to just tell them why is this good. I want they have to become their own mini Socrateses. They have to say why. They have to ask these questions because it's important. So then they can say, you know what? They can understand how to watch the game and why it's important. Why is coach saying we need to switch the field? Why is it why now are we playing a 4-4-2 instead of a 3-5-2? Just these things that they could start to understand, because that is the missing element between being a successful player and team versus hey, I'm giving you this and you have no idea how this got there.
Yeah.
So that's been good because they can understand and they see that. But again, we haven't played, so I don't know if it's clicking or not. But it's good it's good for them to talk soccer the way that you and I would speak, or anyone that has been around the block for a while.
Yeah, I think that the big thing now is the opportunity to educate our players on every level. A lot of these things that I have coached every different level, really big clubs, neighborhood type of clubs, and some of the things that some of these clubs demand these kids to do on the field and then learn at home is an overload. So I think this is the time where they can just sit back and just be fans of the game, watch these games, with a critical mind, or just be a fan of the games. It's just find from these old games, like you said.
Right.
I've worked on projects with my girls and boys teams about we had a little healthy debate when it was 4-4-2 versus 4-3-3. You're the coach. What do you put on the field? And it's just neat to hear their reasoning, about, hey, well, if we have them all lined up on a 4-3-3, it's easy to press. And it's just things that I didn't ask my girls to do that they went and figured out, covering different angles and,
Right.
And hey, we're not as good defensively and we're more exposed on this part of the field. So things like that, let your players learn on their own and figure and solve problems, because when we're on the sidelines coaching, we can only do so much, and I think that our sport's such a free-flowing sport with being soccer that we don't have timeouts. We don't get to bring them over to the sidelines. We want them to make independent decisions.
Exactly. And I actually had this conversation yesterday with someone, and we were talking about how joystick coaching is, well, not a fan of it. If you find me yelling at your every move during the game, then that means that you've not accomplished your goal at practice, and also you might have lost your audience because they're tired of hearing you. So
also, that's the thing is, what did you do during the week? Why are you talking so much to these players? I guess you had some crappy sessions, or you weren't even working on anything, playing kickball practice.
Yeah, it's something else for sure. So I just to your point, I agree. You just got to get these players to understand the game, love the game, and I was told not to say this, but the game is fun. The game is fun. Don't say fun. Don't say fun.
No, I say that all the time. One of my biggest things that I talk to, that when I take all these coaching courses and I hear all these people talking, at the end of the day, I don't care what level it should be fun. And technically, let's be honest, we're not saving lives on the field. We're coaches. It's a game, And I think it's some of these coaches, you're too serious. Take a step back, get a life. It's fun. They're kids. And And one thing I've learned is having an education background and having being a social worker, that every kid processes information different. Every kid's reason to be here should be fun. If you're going into this game trying to be a pro or get a scholarship, you're here for the wrong reason. And
Right.
you're not going to be focused on, wow, man, this was a fun game. How many times I felt better about a coach in a loss that we fought, we had fun, and we walk off the field having a good time because we put the effort in. But then when you have these teams that win, the robots, they're just, are they there to
Yeah.
please themselves or the parents? Are they there to impress a scout or impress a college coach? Why are you actually doing this? So
Right.
yeah, have fun with it. There's times in practices where you got to have some goofy sessions.
Well,
And
you could just gotta it's a sport.
yeah,
A sport's fun. Like, and Messi even says it. Like, they asked him, like, what does it feel like to be the best player in the world? And he was like, I don't think that I am, but thank you. But he said, look, the day that it becomes not fun for me, I'm not going to do it.
yeah,
Like, that is, the I believe the best player right now in the world saying that it's fun. It should be fun,
yeah,
because then why are you doing it?
yeah,
Like, I think a sport job is very different from, you know, I guess your typical 9 to 5.
yeah,
Like, maybe attorneys find it fun. Maybe they
yeah,
find being an attorney fun, but that's great. But like, you find it more acceptable, or you hear it more, that athletes are having fun.
yeah.
It's fun to win. It's fun to hit a really clean ball and to compete. Like, man, that's so much fun. Like, feels good. Like, you should smile and love. Like, sometimes people's game face is a smile.
Oh yeah,
Sometimes it's just straight up like resting face, like, but don't worry about it. Enjoy,
yeah. I
it's
think
like,
the biggest thing, the older I got, the more I got into the other end from being a player. And dude, I was a jerk after losses. I didn't want to shake your hand, I want to touch you. But the funny thing is, we mature, our brain matured at a different rate. I never won the game, but now you are getting, see players do play professional games. Even if you take a loss, you can still have, good conversations or like you want to relationships. At the end of the day, it's just a game. And fans take it more serious than the players, and the coaches and the parents take it much more serious than the players. And we're like, we lost a game. I'm still alive, so I tried my best, so it's all good.
well, we're all winners of a loser's game. Someone has to lose. So
Say that one more time, a little slower. I'm gonna get that on bumper sticker.
we're all winners of a loser's game. So, like, I just find that, like, I don't know. I don't think that makes me less or more competitive. I
Yeah,
just find it like, in the moment, let's go. As soon as it's done, it's done. There's no need, like, and I've been guilty of it too. Like, man, I'm like, I can't believe in 2013 I did that pass. Like, but what have I gained from that negative experience
yeah.
besides the fact that I keep remembering it? Nothing. Literally nothing.
No,
So,
I'm the same way as a coach. I'm like, why did I sub Rachel in the 70th minute? Like, why? Because she made that pass.
yeah, right. But it's nuts. Again, like, the kids, like, you gotta understand the balance. Are you having too much fun and not being productive? Okay, that's a different question. Are
Yeah,
you being too serious and not being productive? That's another question. You got to figure out who you are, what works well for you. There's in the book Mind Gym by Mackey. I think it's Mark. Either
I'll have to
way,
Google it. I'll have to have the fans out there look it up. So yeah,
Mind Gym. I think it's over there. Mark. This is bad. We're just gonna leave it. Mind Gym. Go
okay.
get Mind Gym. But he talks about it, like, you gotta understand, like, how much, like, stimulus is too much or too little. Like, for example, Taylor Lytle loves to listen to country before a game. You give me country before a game, I'm not gonna play well. I'm not like,
Mentioned headphones. Headphones are a great invention.
yeah, I'm like, man, that's not gonna get me pumped. It's really not. But, like, mine is like, a little, like, I like the way you work it, like, a little bit, but, like, if I'm just listening to, like, pounding EDM and all this stuff, I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah,
so pumped that when I get out there, I'm not gonna be productive because I've out psyched myself, and vice versa. So you have to understand yourself. You have to understand your own, the way that you function. Like, some people could eat at halftime, some people can't. Like, figure it out. Like, like, there's no right or wrong. It's just who you are, and, like, stick to it, and don't worry about comparing yourself to others.
yeah. No, it's so neat. So with this, career that you've had, like, what are some of your best memories of just playing, whether it's college, pro? I mean, you got to play in multiple countries. Not many people can say that they played for multiple countries. Some of your fond memories of playing.
Um, Honestly, like I miss the like competitive 4v4s, like 4v4 tournaments. Um, I miss my friends. I really do. Like that bond. It's kind of like it's a weird. It's like you went through something, you know, that you can't really replicate or people don't really know. And there's like these little like inside jokes, or you just kind of. It's like time travel. You can go back
Oh my gosh,
into
yeah.
into that moment with that person or with that group, and I do miss that. Um, I think that I wouldn't. I would do it. I would if I were to do it again. I would do it the same way. I did enjoy like when I played in Europe. I enjoyed backpacking and going to all these different countries. Like man, and I went at a perfect time when there really wasn't like any terrorist attacks or anything going on. No pandemics. You know, I really utilized my time. Um, I wish it was longer, but you know, there's a ceiling for everything. But like good memories and moments is like been in practices and you know like last minute games and games under the rain, games like where you're fighting for things like you just can't like college and professional like there's just some things you can't describe but you just are like man I do miss that you know rondos and jokes and stuff just like the little nuances that go on that you'll have forever which is great.
No, those are the things that all those things came flooding back to me, and it's funny about the things that I take for granted and miss the most are just the camaraderie, just the things that you probably remember. A long bus ride home, but you won the game. Like that
Yeah,
win. If you got like a 7-hour bus ride, but you got a W in your back pocket, like it could be a 12-hour bus ride. You don't care. You're just on cloud nine.
yeah,
It's not exactly moments of the game as a coach or as a player. It's just those little tiny experiences of like getting that meal at a restaurant in the middle of nowhere, and like you got some wrinkled up hot dogs and maybe some like hot hamburgers have been on the grill for about 3 days, and you're just like, I don't care, man. I'll eat it. We won. Just
yeah,
those relationships and friendship, like you said, like the small 4v4s, 3v3s. Like how many times you got megged in practice? Because I was definitely on the top 10 list every week. So, but yeah, just a lot of those relationships you form in the network, and just that that you have this family. It's its own family, and that's what I say a lot to my teams when we do our little
no
kind of group
it
chants.
really
When you
is.
say family, it's your family away from your family you chose, kind of.
No, it's true. Like even my club teammates, like I've gone to their weddings. Like we keep in touch, and I like that's like it's like a covenant. Like you like that's like even though we're not like your day to day best friend, we are still best friends. We just don't see each other every day or communicate every day, but like no matter what, we are definitely close and we are connected and bond. Um, but uh the my like even like Sky Blue teammates,
Yeah.
great. Um, love them, and from time to time, to year to year, it's always been different. Um, and even in Norway too, you know, like my roommate, we keep in touch. It's just again, it's relationships. Relationships matter the most.
And that was the next
Um,
question, actually, about just arriving, touching down in Norway, first day. You're already signed with a team in Norway, but now it's like, okay, I'm on a Norwegian team.
yeah. That was like a leap of faith. You know, I was doing really well with Sky Blue, and I literally said, I was like, all right, I'm gonna ask for these random things, this contract and all that stuff, and I was like, if that's what God wants, then He'll make it happen. And they were like, all right, come, and you have a day. And I was like, oh, okay, we're really doing this impossible contract. We're really gonna do it. I landed in Norway, and I remember, I remember that I landed in Oslo, and because we were gonna go to La Manga for training camp, and and I was playing in Grimstad, so I was gonna stay in Grimstad, so that's about 3 hours from. But I was in Oslo, and my coach was like, "Great, you're here." Like I'm getting used to using iMessage and WhatsApp, and I'm not really sure, and I don't know where I am or what's going on. I'm literally just like vagabonding. And he's like, "Are you hungry?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he took me to the McDonald's that's right around the hotel.
Yeah.
And hilarious that we were there and I was getting a meal there, and we used the fries as what our formation would be and what he likes to use. And I was dying. I took a picture of it, and it was like, we play a 3-5-2, and we're gonna drop back, and you just see these like little fries that we didn't use, and I'm like, this is the game plan for this weekend. This is hilarious. I go back to our hotel, or I think it was just me that was staying there. I don't really know who else was staying there. Maybe it was him. I don't really remember. I walk in and I hear Rachel. I was like, okay, there's no shot. I'm in the middle of Oslo. I'm nowhere. And I hear Rachel Breton, and I was like, this is a joke. I turn around, and it's Tanisha Adams. Because she was playing for
Well, she was playing up there. I remember that. I don't remember the team, but yeah, I've had her on this show before. Tanisha's been a big fan of the show and on the show.
I think she was playing for Malbach, or
what's the odds, you know? You know?
Yeah, I was like, what are you doing here? Like, I haven't seen her since 2013, and I was like, what is going on? And so her team was staying there, and then
yeah, could be.
Or maybe it was Staubach. Either way, doesn't matter. But anyway, that was a wild intro, very Rachel Walter Mitty event, and it was just like, all right, let's figure it out. Also, my coach was like, it's warmer than New York, so like don't really need to pack very heavy. We had a huge snowstorm that day. Huge snowstorm. It's so cold.
Murphy's Law followed you everywhere, man.
Yeah, I had no warm clothes. I'm like, you're an idiot. Myself. Because like it doesn't mean pack lights for 4 or 5 months.
That's Norway.
In Norway, in the middle of nowhere, where things are kilometers, like very far away. The closest thing was IKEA. I was like, this is not, like, you're so done. But I needed that time so much.
Yeah.
It was great. Like it was a great little bit of pause and solitude, and you just focus on your craft. You focus and. You know, I kept my fitness up. I played really well, did really well, started every game. I read a lot. I cooked a lot, learned a lot of things, explored a lot. You know, like we would have the cool thing about Europe is that, like, if I wanted to go fly to France, boom. You know, like I can't. It's a short trip.
And it's like pocket change. The amount of money we pay to like hop up,
yeah,
like
cheap
Uber,
trip.
something like that, like something like $20-30. You know, I've done some European flights, and I never understood how all these Europeans go to Champions League games, dude. Like, if I want to go to LA, I gotta fork up $500 at the minimum to get to LA.
Crazy. So I was like, the likelihood of me coming there from New Jersey and back for this, not gonna happen. So I might as well cap it out now. So I literally was like, all right, I'm going to France. It was like for Easter. I went to France, and I stayed in Paris, and I have family there. And then we took the train to Geneva, stayed in Switzerland for a little bit. I have family there too, which I, again, had no idea. And that was one trip. The other trip, we took the ferry to Sweden and to Denmark. And then I think we also took a ferry or... I
gotta document this all out, because I am getting cross-eyed trying to follow I got a little map in the background.
Yeah.
I know the listeners, this is radio, but I am broadcasting from my studio in my basement. So, but yeah, I've got a few pins on my map. But I mean, that's just, have you ever written that down, like as a blog, like all the places you've been, like in a chronological order at all?
The best thing that I have is like pictures. Like I go back and I'm like, it was this time. Like I remember the order.
Yeah.
But
you got some time. You got some time on your hands. You're not going to.
I know, right? But yeah, no, it's been good. I do enjoy it. I think I think if I were to make a comeback and come back and play after this, I think I'd go play in Spain and visit family, and because I'm a lot Spanish, so I would visit family in Galicia. And
how are you gonna walk in the country when they ask your ID? I'm a lot Spanish. Oh yeah, just come on in. You don't even need a passport.
Well, I like to say that I'm Spanish, but then I'm a mutt. Like I'm 7 different things, so it's.
You gotta say it in Spanish. I'm American, but I'm a lot Spanish. Oh, you're good.
My gosh, yeah. But no, I think I would That's the one thing that I think I would have done more.
I've been to Spain. Highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of places around the water, but for Madrid being a landlocked city, I actually really, really love Madrid. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So highly recommend when things get back to semi-normal, take a chance, go to Spain, So
Yeah.
you would not have a problem with me getting out to one of your games if you go to Spain. So fan club of one will come.
Get the jet going.
Yeah, exactly. It's that easy. So, but no, I mean, I really appreciate what you do for the game. I appreciate, your tenacity and your versatility and all the stuff you do, with, my women's team, Philadelphia Lone Star, doing like a partnership with Technique Football and finding out that you do stuff with Technique Football. I mean, it's such a beautiful game. And I think right now during the situation we're in, we can do so much networking and helping each other and realizing there's so many parts that are connected. Like I was doing a talk with the youth club in Toronto a couple weeks ago and found out you knew those people. So it's like, it's almost, you really educate the young players out there how small of a world it really is, that this is your time to network and grow yourself, learn the game, get your certifications. There's so many online classes. You just learn the game, teach the game.
Yep. No, it's true. And the biggest thing that I've learned is networking, but like I always try to keep it real, like I don't like to reach out and be like, hey, can you do this for me? Like it's just like if we have that relationship, great. If I can help you, great, but like I always say this, and it's a line of mine, but we're all just trying to walk each other home.
Yeah. There you go. Walk each other home alone type thing. And
and
I tell people a lot, it's like the worst thing somebody can ever say to you is no. I reach out to people and ask them, hey, I want to do this. I want to try that. I want to try this with my women's team. I want to try that. I want to interview you. No. Okay, cool. I'm that guy. But I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'll just ask you straight up, so.
Right.
But no, I really thank you for coming on our show, World Sports Show. Thank you for taking the time out. You're always one of my go-to people. I was actually watching a bunch of our interviews that we had done through the years. Gosh, we've been doing interviews, I think, since pretty much when the NWSL started back up. I must go back to at least 2013, 14, 15, 16. We were always doing interviews, and we have some classics that you always are a good person to talk to, because no matter win or loss, there are certain athletes out there that I know that are going to give me straight up good content and just say how it is. We've all had those teammates and players we've coached or been around that after a loss, like, I'm not interviewing you or even talking to you. Can't get the one-word answers.
It's very true.
No, that's your team. If there's anything that we can do for you guys, let us know, because we're all going to be learning together, learning about this beautiful game and what we can and can't do. So just stay safe, and best to your teams out there, Rachel.
Thanks, Charlie. And again, thank you for what you do too, because we wouldn't be who we are if we didn't have you as well.
Well, I appreciate it. This is Charlie Flowe, World Sports Show with Rachel Breton. Stay tuned for more content on World Sports Show.
Thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com. Thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com.